creating what you're posting if you do that.
It's going to be great.
I'm really looking for, because I've been to Chicago and I didn't do that, and I feel like if you do it when you do it, it's going to be the end for me.
Timing is everything.
Yeah. It is. It was fantastic. I mean, we didn't catch him compromised or anything, but it was really good. So,
well, that's because I have eyes. I can see when it starts. All right, welcome us to the podcast,
okay.
Director.
Oh yes, I should change my name, shouldn't I?
Again.
Okay. Yeah.
You got it earlier.
I undid it. Yeah, it undid it.
Our broadcasting tool had an update, which meant that nobody could hear each other or talk until we did the update. So we had to relaunch it. Yay!
We are professionals.
Yeah.
We figured it out.
We totally didn't take all of our prep time to bitch about the subreddit and the state it's in instead of, prep for the show.
None whatsoever.
So starved for content that it's distracting.
Hold on.
Anyway.
Mouse. No, sorry. Couldn't help it.
See, this is what I'm talking about.
Here's my gerbil. Its name is Maggie. Sorry. Anyway, welcome to the 34th episode about Cold Days.
The book that never really ends, and why would you ever want it to?
Look, we got to lampoon ourselves because I jokingly said it was going to take 5 shows, but this is literally episode 5, right?
I thought we were joking about 7, and I still think that's
I had to push it out once we got to 3 because there was no way we were going to finish it in 2 more, especially last time it took us, we talked about 3 chapters last episode, I think.
We got through 5, but we spent 40 minutes on 3 chapters, and then we zoomed through 2 of them, and then it's like...
Right. Okay. But to be fair, Cold Days really has almost more expose and world building than any other single book, right?
Yeah.
So
this is one of the books where all of the other storylines that he's been building up for 14 books are colliding.
Right. They coalesce into their own thing. We don't really get a ton of answers in a way, right? We get a ton of information, but not something where it's like, oh man, I see the writing on the wall per se. We find out that Nemesis is actually running around doing stuff. Honestly, in this book, we don't even find out that Cal and Kumari are behind it because I think we don't find that out until Zude, for crying out loud. And so there's a lot of other information where it's okay, yes, we're starting to get some of the actual players behind things, but we still don't know what's going on. And then Skin Game's mostly a fun heist with a fair bit of world building as well. But, Cold Days is just a lot to chew on.
And then Peace Talks is going to be the ultimate world building because not only does everything happen in it, but all the members are showing up.
Right. It's gonna be nuts. We should just do a highlight episode per player, right? We'll be this is Injun Joe's episode.
We should actually probably do
this. This is everything that happened to him.
Because the news is that it actually went out to the publishers. It's now officially done. And that Marsters has signed up to do the audiobook, which was anticipated, but
now we have actual confirmation from him and from the publisher, right? So
the stories that Jim was telling when he was touring for other, for briefcases, is that Marsters was also ribbing on Jim for not having Peace Talks done already. Mm-hmm. So it's I think Marsters wants that job and is doing it because he wants to read the book faster.
I was going to say, not only he actually does enjoy the job from everything that I've seen and heard, but he is actually a fan too. I think that's a huge part of it. He wants it. It's sure he's going to get paid, but he wants to know what the fuck happens. So.
Yeah,
don't we all?
The statements that we cannot afford Marsters because he demands such a high price. He's doing this job because he wants to. And I think there were stories that he got teary-eyed in Skin Game.
Yes.
So, yeah. He definitely is. He wants this job, and it's good because we want him to do it.
Right. A lot of the stuff with Maggie especially seems to get him. So when he records it, I think it was Skin Game where he talked about having to take a 2-hour break or something like that.
Yeah.
It was just I need a minute, so. Yeah. All right. So Cold Days.
We left in the middle of chapter 38, right after the glacier making rising of the warehouse that was collapsed on them. Right. So they're going back to Molly's apartment. Yeah. It's one of those exposition moments in between the fighting scenes.
Yay. I was going to say, this is where I think they get into the particulars about her apartment, right?
Particulars?
No,
Yeah, you know
because
about how she
that
bought
didn't.
with honor and this, that, and the other thing.
No, I think that was
that
before.
didn't happen. What was it before? Because like there's a moment where dude brings the car around and it's like what's the Smurf Nebelin's name?
Fuck you.
Shit.
What? Now I can't remember.
It's Mr. E something, but I can't remember like the
what,
name.
Etchery?
Etchery, there you go. Thank you. So it's like Mr. Etchery's personal vehicle. It's gone through his personal security measures, which means it was run under a waterfall and all this other stuff, which, by the way, just makes them even more badass. Like the way that they kind of sell them and that they trade in honor kind of makes sense anyways from like a fairy standpoint, but it just sounds cool and fun. Etchery was pretty cool in in Bombshells. Yeah. I was trying to think, I got hooked up because I was trying to think if he was in the other story with the kids. I think that was a different one, but with the bullying, right? Where it was one of the Bigfoot stories, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The first one? So,
there was a Svartalf there, but it wasn't Etchery. Right. It was just one of them that had been contracted.
Yeah.
Right. So just like, but their people, for lack of a better word, are just fun when they come in because as opposed, like they're not the, Mad Hatter murder hobos, right? Like you get from Leah and her ilk. They're more like, the calculated, murder hobos that, it's just, they're kind of badasses, I guess, but
they are the ones that created the powerful Norse weapons of the stories. It came from the Svartalfs.
Right. Yeah.
And I mean, the story of it is that they had gotten kind of tricked and a little bit, but they were repaying a debt. They are very good at straddling the bit of that is fairy and that is Norse. They mix it so well. Like the cold calculating, like honor is super important and it matches the fairies very well.
Right.
No. They did say Mab was on excellent terms with them, so it makes sense.
Right. Well, and she, air and darkness, right? So it's totally her domain. But
who are you?
Oh, hi.
They're on Svartalf.
Intruder.
I swear, time zones. I thought it was in 15 minutes.
Yeah, every time it's in 15 minutes.
That's why I confirmed what time it was yesterday. Seriously.
You'd think after like the third time that it happened. Anyway, So they get back to the apartment. What next? Because we kind of rewind and then jump forward, and then we don't know.
Butters was talking about Harry is limping. He has that cut on his leg that is bleeding and never stopping bleeding.
I don't have time to bleed.
Yeah.
Yeah. From the
Lacuna.
Hawthorne dart.
As soon as they walk through the door, Lacuna's like, "You can't let them have the pizza. I want to fight them for the pizza. You can't let them."
Right.
Tooth Fairy confirmed.
Yeah.
Well, the children and candy thing was pretty out there too, like in case you have any questions. Like, do you know what tonight is? Children and candy. So
yeah, it's a great little moment when I think Thomas tells her to calm down or something. She turns to him and says, "You aren't important."
Right.
Which, I mean, it's not untrue.
What do you mean? Thomas is like one of the best characters.
But he's not important.
There are stories where he's important, when it's heavily focused on him and their relationship. And then there's stories where he's tangentially important, like Changes, where he just kind of hats up and is there.
Right. I mean, he's always going to be there. Like Murphy's always going to be there, right? Because family.
Oh, God, I hope not.
But he's only like really, really important with, white court stuff. So. Otherwise, he's just like, yep, okay, there's Thomas with his rape.
Or when he's being kidnapped and pretending that he's going to follow the dark side again. And then never does.
Stop it. He's still eating people. It just hasn't been addressed yet because Harry's also a monster. So
he's not
and also they're kind
he's
of
not killing people. He's just addicting
them,
then dropping them.
I didn't say killing. I said eating. There's difference. Ask your girlfriend. Excuse me. So
see? Yeah,
I mean that's just really a really rude reminder to me that I don't have one. So that's all you got out of that.
I don't know your life.
You're hurting me in here.
I'm sorry. We'll talk about it after. I'll give you a hug to make up for it. So the director still can't get composure. So E.G., you're gonna have to take over for like the next 20 minutes while she composes herself.
Yay.
Okay, so they talk about stuff. Lacuna's there. She dismisses Thomas.
Yes, Lacuna marks the spots that there are ritual being set up. They dispatch Vikings to one and the Wraith team to the other, because there's the third one that Harry is figuring out, like, he can't move in straight lines. They have to go all squirrely and around, and that's how they put together the boats.
This is where boats come in.
And I mean,
this makes sense.
It gets so glossed over in the story, but I think it's such a badass thing that it's like, so we already know Marcone's got his strike team because we've used them before, right? And we get a tangential reference to Laura has people that have like a quick response force.
Kind of see them on the island, right? That one time.
True,
they fly
maybe
in with a helicopter.
But those were her sisters, I thought.
Yeah, I thought that was her sisters.
You know,
I feel like there was mention of White Court, like more things on the skirmish somewhere.
Could
some
be.
point.
There's a lot of shit happening.
But we've definitely seen her sisters in actions with Turncoat especially. But it's just fun to be like, yeah, we're gonna send these badasses over here and these badasses over here, and then we're gonna still deal with the real fight. But those other fights were still big enough that we had to send 2 different teams of badasses to deal with them. You know. Mm-hmm. So, because you know that whatever the White Court, like, I can just think like underworld type scenes where you've got like these, you know, pale trench coat wearing vampire badasses just running around killing shit. So, you know, just whatever. Sorry, I'm a nerd and I like those movies. Okay.
Well,
gosh,
they were good until.
I mean, I think I like every underworld movie. So, I think I like all of them.
The second one was pretty terrible at the end, but the first one was pretty good, especially. Anyway, so. Badasses go places, and then Harry realizes, wait a minute, I'm being had again because I'm an idiot, but this time I'm going to use it against him. So
this time Harry went big brain.
Harry kind of puts together that Ace is still trying to fuck with him, and goes into that backstory a little bit of Summer Night, which I think is more just a function of trying to make it seem more fitting a few paragraphs later when he figures out what is really going on, and that he's the one who's supposed to kill Maeve because of the symmetry of killing Aurora. And it seemed more like it's trying to like highlight it in a way to make it seem more fitting. So otherwise, I think
Ace is just a dick. So.
Yes, but
like remind me what his motivations are, because like he's so hollow that all he is a pain in the ass.
Harry took away his family.
Yeah.
So Merrill died, and Lily became.
There was no personal responsibility. It was all Harry's fault.
Became Summer. Well, that's the same with everyone.
Well, that and it's like
that doesn't explain
me, right?
enough because like there's an irrationality on Ace's part, because in Summer Night he's the one who hired the Tigress, right?
Right.
Or yeah. So
that's Andres' point.
Well, he goes full on Anakin. You know, you turned her against me, like it's all his. I mean, granted, he's half red cap, so he's not.
Yeah, but out of fear, he was throwing in with Mab because he wanted to be protected, and then all of his friends either died or hated him, and he's blaming it all on Harry because he doesn't want to take personal responsibility.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's like let's blame everything on Tony Stark. Got it. So.
Right.
Be like, there were already monsters. Bad shit was going to happen. Like if Harry didn't intervene, right, the world would have ended. It wasn't going to go out in like some fiery explosion, but like through all the actions, this was going to culminate in like everything, you know, changing in a huge way. But you know, it's Harry's fault because he killed Aurora. So
the next book, it's his fault too, and that's why Butters gets to do whatever he wants with impunity. But let's not go down that road for now.
It's
okay when Butters do it. So
okay, all right. So whatever. Ace sucks.
Yeah,
and he's largely irrelevant to the story, no matter what. So what's next? Because do they go to the island yet, or is there more prep work?
Well, he's got to do the wild hunt chase first.
Well, there's a little bit of prep work, and after they decide where the different attack teams are going, and they figure out that they need to go to the boat and get that prep. So they're going to Demon Reach, and Harry starts sending everyone off until he is alone in Molly's apartment with Karen. Like he gives them all jobs to do, and Molly realizes she's being kicked out to go take Mouse for a walk.
Right.
So he can have a few minutes alone with Karen.
Right.
And that's when he kind of like has an emotional breakdown over Maggie and everything. and finally puts together what Mother Summer was trying to tell him.
Well, okay, but we're also skipping over a part 2 because isn't this the part where like Karen calls him out, or did that already happen?
No, this is the part. I mean, okay, kind of skipped over the fact that he was like intimidating Sarissa and Mac, trying
and Murphy, because she like gets in his face, and at one point she's like, "And you can't have the swords back," and he's like, he's like gonna lose his shit. So that was before. Okay,
yeah, that was when she also demanded the skull back.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
but he's deciding.
And then he gets all territorial and backs down, right?
Yeah. She does that to him. She like forces him to realize that he's being a dick, and he backs down. And that's what she does throughout this book, mostly.
Well, I mean, she saves him too.
Yeah. But like,
and she's got to bring the motorcycle because he can't drive. So.
Yeah, but about this thing with Sarissa and Mac is Harry says like, I don't know what you guys are doing, but there's that thing of friends and enemies keeping them close and closer. So you guys are coming with.
Right. Which does even, well, because they go to like the cottage later, right? Or something like that. Because it's like, I think Mac gets mentioned exactly like one more time the rest of the book.
Because he gets shot.
But he got shot. But he was just he was there just kind of like helping people up the island a few times.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't really get involved. It's just then Maeve shoots him and says it's ironic, and then Mav later pulls the bullet out and he heals himself.
Bitch doesn't even know what irony is. I think it would be ironic if we were all made out of iron. Okay, so
there's the one thing when Harry was asking Mac is, I don't suppose you want to tell me who you are, and he says, no, that's mine.
Right.
It's for me to know and you to find out at a later book date.
Yeah.
Probably at the apocalypse, because if we don't find out in peace talks, we don't find out in peace talks, it's going to be the BAT. That's when everything else happens.
So that's the one thing that doesn't happen in peace talks.
Yes.
There is no BAT, only peace talks.
Right.
Right. So then they get kicked out to go stand outside.
Peace talks is going to be like Civil War. That's why everything's happening there, because it's like Avengers 2.5. It's because like everybody's going to be there and all this crazy shit's going to happen. Okay, continue. The director hasn't seen those movies, so she doesn't get that reference.
I've seen
or this one.
Most of them.
She just has no soul and doesn't appreciate them.
She's not a ginger.
Give or take. All right. Emotional breakdown with Karen because
we need one of those every book too.
Yeah. And
vulnerable.
I think she has a lot of good points that he's trying to ignore of like, yeah, my dad said that of later, not right now, and then he was dead. She's already 10. He hasn't had any time with her. So he should take the chance when he can.
There was this one time they went on a field trip to Chichen Itza.
Yeah. And that was a good moment.
And all she got was her mother in a hole.
Sometimes you just say things that I like.
Make you cringe.
I think.
Come on, after like 5 years of reading that book and it destroying your soul over and over again, it's like counting primes when you see the Skinwalker, right? Just eventually you get desensitized.
Like what Rashia said, you get used to it.
Right.
That book still breaks my heart every time.
Oh no, yeah, for sure. But I mean, I'm not reading it now, so I can crack jokes. So yes, okay. So he hasn't spent time with his 10-year-old girl, which is the part that still breaks my mind too. Is like, I don't feel like he writes her like a 10-year-old, but like, because I feel like she's still so much younger. But in Zoo Day, she's much more capable. But at least
Well, so you don't get to see her much in Changes. You don't see her at all in this book.
Yeah.
And when we see her in Skin Game, she is very nervous and vulnerable.
That's fair.
It's normal to like act a little bit younger that way.
That's fair. I've never been a vulnerable little girl, so you'll have to tell me.
It's just the way everyone reacts when they're vulnerable. And especially a kid is probably going to regress a little bit to something that's more comfortable, to like hanging on to mouse and stuff.
I can understand that. So Karen says, go give your girl a hug after this.
And then
we all sing Kumbaya. And then...
Well, he's going on about how he can't bear to hurt her even any more than he already has. So maybe he should stay away because she's his little girl. And that's when it pieces together. Like, yeah, Mab asked him to kill Maeve because she doesn't want to hurt her own girl.
Right.
And somehow that makes the outsiders make more sense over the fact that Mab hasn't destroyed the world yet. So yes, Maeve is the one who's lying and is crazy when he could have figured that out earlier.
Yeah, like chapters ago. And Harry's not very smart. We already know this. Like, he's...
You know what the problem is? His id definitely knew.
Right.
If you would just talk to them.
He's smart-ish, you know, and like he gets there eventually, but it's the eventually part that makes it less smart. So.
Well, if he was smart, then there would be no plot.
True. I don't know, because in Skin Game we see what happens when he's smart, and that's way more fun.
Right, but that's different because that plot was we're all under the assumption he's not being smart. You can only do that so many times too.
Right. Well, because I think if Dresden were smart, he'd be like a Mary Sue, right? He'd just be so stupidly powerful that like. You know.
Well, no, because there's people who like, I would say people like Ebenezer are easily 50 times smarter than him, but that doesn't mean they don't have their blind spots.
Blind spots, yes, but at the same time too, like Ebenezer he's not Mab, right? But he starts to be so high up there that he's limited in his power and his responses. And I'm sure he limits himself because, you know, the last time he did Tunguska, Krakatoa, Satellite Dresden, you know, what was the Castle Verde? What?
Casa Verde.
Casa Verde. That's, So, but yeah.
Well, that one was at least personally.
And that one was only like a 4.0 on the Richter scale. So, you know, like they felt that in a neighboring village, but not like on the other side of the world. Anyway,
They can't all be world-altering events.
Right.
Sometimes it's just debris from the sky.
So once he decides that it's time to move out, they get into their various automobiles and go off, and Molly gives him a leather duster, brand new one, Inverness coat apparently, and security guy helped her order it off the internet with Thomas's card.
Right.
Yeah.
Which means that happened like very recently, right?
Yeah, no, she did it that morning to be delivered that day for that moment.
Right.
Yeah, it was like a delivery of 4 hours.
Right. So it probably cost like, 8 times as much to have it delivered as it did in the first place. So
yes.
But and doesn't she make some quip about Bad to the Bone at that point? So
yeah, she started singing the song when he was like putting it on and stuff.
Right.
But I was thinking later, because it's been a while since I got to the end of this book, I'm not trying to get ahead of it too much.
Right.
When he walks through the force field, does that coat burn up?
No. Because I thought he had already taken everything off.
Yeah, he gets naked and puts mud on himself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, because
it's like
so
he did go through it naked because he was fighting Fix naked. It's like did his clothes burn off?
No.
Or
yes.
No,
he
pulls the Predator.
He had to make himself part of the island.
Right, exactly. If it's not of the island, which I mean, I get the clothes thing, but like because he's got a bond with the Genius Loci, I would have written in that it makes him part of the island, but I guess the naked covered in mud part is neat too.
Well, I think now he is. Like if it happened again, since he's been there for a year and learned the island's defenses and stuff, he could probably do it now.
Right.
Maybe.
That's fair.
Or at least like have a little sliver portal open up.
Well, let's hope. But it's going to be really funny when he fights Cthulhu in the buff. So.
I mean, listen, that's how the book started. The first demon we ever see him fight, he's butt-ass naked too. Might as well keep doing it.
That's a really good point. That's a really good point. That time he was handicapped though because he had just gotten out of the shower. Soap -10 to your spot check.
Well, that and Susan was proving that she's ever the capable person by taking the wrong potion.
Right.
So
I blame Bob though.
Listen, Bob is who he is. The fact that Harry indulged him is his problem.
Right. Well, not just that, but I mean, Bob's an opportunist, right? So like, he's like, Bob, help her drink the potion. Obviously, Bob's going to make her drink the potion that he wanted her to drink in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Like, duh. What did you think was going to happen? You didn't, because you were running for your life. Okay. So, Bad to the Bone.
Yes. They get to the dock with the water beetle, and sundown happens. And it's the moment that Harry can actually pay attention to. And that's when they start noticing the wild
Do you hear
hunt is
horns?
coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Thomas is explaining a little bit of what's going to happen, join, hunt, hide, or die, and water isn't going to be enough of a deterrent. They'll just run straight over it. And Karen asks, how do you know? I joined.
Right. About that.
So they're enough of a danger. Harry tells Thomas to get on the water beetle and go, and he stays. And Karen gets on her bike and says, get on the bike, bitch. And they start running through Chicago with the hunt after them, and he's got the Winchester rifle, and he manages to put a bullet into the Earl King, although that might have just been planted or really, really leveled in his favor in a way that he didn't know at the time.
Right. Yeah, I mean, so they lead them on a merry chase, and it's great scenes. I think they shoot one of the dogs. That's great. Yeah, there you go. You're like, why do they keep talking over me? Because we weren't. But
it's because we're American.
So they shoot one of the dogs, and it turns out it's a people. And then they shoot one of the riders, and it turns out it's the Earl King. And then he tussles with one of the other ones, and it turns out it's Santa Claus. And then he's like, wait a minute, so I defeated you, but I'm kind of getting the feeling that you could have annihilated me. So I'm guessing you threw this. And they're like, we don't know what you're talking about. And he takes over the Wild Hunt. So.
Yes. Well, once he defeats Kringle, and he's like, does this huge intimidation show to the rest of the hunt. And then that's when it starts, like, that smoky magic crawls over the motorcycle and makes it a jaguar, right?
Yeah. Which is impossible, by the way. Magic doesn't work like that. No, Harry says it himself. It's literally impossible. Magic isn't supposed to work this way because every other book is. Magic isn't supposed to work this way.
Sure,
Harry's understanding of mortal magic, but that's not exactly mortal magic now, is it?
Nope.
It's also a ritual, I'd imagine, on some level. Like, it's some really big shit. Like, I'd imagine even the Dark Hollow isn't as big and spoopy as what the Wild Hunt is.
Well, the Wild Hunt was going to be absorbed into the Dark Hollow, so.
Right. But I'm just saying, on reference of, like, levels of magics and the technical details, like, I mean, in a way, the Wild Hunt's probably even just literally a force of nature, and it works that way because that's the way people would expect a Wild Hunt to work. I don't know. But yeah, it's fun. Don't think about it too much. So they get what? Go ahead.
Well, it's just it shouldn't work. It's fairy magic, and the motorcycle is steel. Shouldn't work.
Hush now.
Yeah. The Wild Hunt's not fairy magic necessarily.
No, he's a fairy.
He's not the de facto owner of the Wild Hunt. It's like
no, that's not the problem, but
own thing.
It's in the sphere of fairy.
I don't know. Is Odin in the sphere of fairy?
Partially.
That's why he does. That's why he does Kringle instead, who is a fairy.
It's because he's also, like, real mythology-wise, like a leader of the Wild Hunt.
So what should really bake your noodle is he's going to have two different sets of armor, because when he is Kringle, he can't touch steel, but when he's Odin, he has no such weakness. Let's stop thinking about this too much, because we're going to be here all night. So it forms around the Jaguar. You know why? Because it creates a warp bubble around the motorcycle so that the fairy magic is able to manipulate the gravitic fields around the motorcycle without
it wasn't really
touching.
It wasn't really the whole process that was supposed to be impossible. It was just kind of the like, it turned into a Jaguar, and he comments that it's not a sentient force that does things of its own volition. It wasn't supposed to be any more artistic than electricity. So,
magic in general, or the Wild Hunt?
Magic.
Right.
Magic was not some kind of partially sentient force that did things of its own volition. It wasn't any more artistic than electricity.
But the Hunt is carrying out the will of its wielder, though, right?
Well, he might be being helped. Harry might have taken the Hunt, but if, like, the Earl King is, like, controlling, helping it along as much as he needs to,
which we see later. Like, he basically gives it back to them so that they can go actually kick some ass.
Like, they gave him this opportunity to take the power. They're going to help him, like, not have to worry about some of the other details, maybe. And like so gravity. They make it fit what it needs to be.
Yeah, it's like co-leadership.
Yeah.
Yeah. the three of them are essentially running the show.
Right.
Yeah. And did you see it also later, once they are running over the water and they kind of point out that the time is moving against them. And if you would like, we can take care of this for you, but you have to tell us.
Right. I forgot about that. Cause like, you know, Kringle disappears, right? And then he's like, where did he go? He's like, oh, about 2 weeks. Well, like, what do you mean? Like, in the future, we'll see him downstream. And it's just such a great moment about that too, because it's basically like, I would guess he diverts the, time being sent against them part, and gets wrapped up in the eddy, so to speak. But
let's see, what did they say? It's a
It's
temporal pressure wave that's being pressed against them.
Which is great that like the Earl King is using language like this.
If it is your will, Kringle said, we can set our hands against it. They do it, but Kringle has to be left behind. I thought he was running at the slower time frame in order to push Harry and the rest of them ahead.
Right, which is why
to lift us out, he had to remain behind. He will rejoin us farther down the shore.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I'm sure the 2 weeks thing is my creative license, but it's
like he's moving at the time frame that Maeve is pushing, I think.
Right. Yep. So there's that. Then the actual fighting starts. Well, ish. They find out that there are barges with tugboats, and there really is boats, and that the ritual is taking place on these 3 barges, and their likely intent is to smash the barges into the shore. So they take the wild hunt and start like attacking the boats, and they deal with the cultists that are on the ship, which we gloss over. Which I kind of feel like there's some clues there, but okay, whatever.
As to where the hell did they get the cultists and what are they doing?
Right. Like, are they, that was weird, but are they, are they the Circle or Black Council or whatever, or are they just brainwashed or whatever else, So Earl King totally fucks up a boat with his goddamn sword, which is fucking amazing. So he just slashes it with his sword because he's a
Harry
badass.
Says, can we sink a barge? And he goes, wizard, please.
Like, this is not even the biggest thing I've killed today. Like,
probably not. Oh, yeah. And Karen, kisses him right in the middle of battle. Right. Just because. Going attacking all the barges.
Because she felt the boner. So she was like, well, he's up for this.
This is the best show we've ever recorded anyway.
Possibly.
Yeah. So there's that. Then they kind of realize like they need to actually disrupt the magics that, attacking the barges directly isn't going to do enough. So they need to work on sinking them or getting on the ships. At some point he winds up on the ship, and at some point he gives the wild hunt back to the Earl King. Cause like Harry's not really, he's not focused on the right things, right? He's using the hunt as a weapon and being like, okay, fight there, fight here. Whereas the Earl King is like, how about we just kick everybody's ass at the same time?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, yeah, do that, because they also find out like Sharkface shows up after they divert the first barge with a bunch of actual literal outsiders, like an army of outsiders. And these days I envision the freaking scene from Avengers Infinity War, where they're like pushing through the shield and shit. Those little, dog-faced fucks. I can't remember what they're called, but
Riders.
Well, sure.
That's what they're called.
In Infinity War,
the Outriders.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. So them pushing against the island's literal defenses and whatnot, and then the Earl King unleashes the wild hunt on them, and then Harry has a nice chat with Cat Sith.
At some point. So they're attacking the barges, and then they get caught in that glamour that Sharkface put on them. And Harry was suddenly being tortured, and Mab was chiseling his teeth, but he noticed that it smelled of steel. Like, that can't possibly be right. And so it was a glamour, and he screamed his name at Sharkface.
Right. Which there was actually like a word of Jim about that, which is pretty funny because he's like, wait a minute, didn't he like scream his entire full name at the outsider? It's like, he's not always smart. Like,
but he did do that. What do you think's going to happen?
Right. But there's also something about it, like the intent in the way that Harry approaches it in the story, right, is that he did it to elicit the true name from the outsider, that supernatural creatures kind of have to respond with stuff like that. And so that's when you get like, isn't it, he's Harbinger and he's, Gatebreaker and all this other stuff, right? So you get like his
Harbinger, Gatebreaker. What else is he? What does he say?
Fear Giver, Hope Slayer. Yeah.
Pancaker.
And then He Who Walks Before.
Boy's got some titles.
Lots of people have titles.
He's got like a lot of titles.
He also had some pretty cool titles. I'm just gonna say,
they're kind of good.
He kind of looks like a dope, but yeah.
But does he actually like? If we ask the other outsiders, are they like, "Yep, that's his titles, that's him," or is he like he's just boasting?
I don't know. Like some of them are just like they're okay. Fear Giver, Hope Slayer. That sounds cool, but the one that actually seems more intimidating now is Gatebreaker.
Yeah, that's the one that gets me.
Yeah, that's the big one right there.
Right.
Well, it's also clearly the most unearned, unless he's talking about like Gates.
Because that's not happened yet.
It says here on your resume that you've got 13 eons of gate breaking experience, but here we are, not inside reality. So just saying.
Would you like to explain that discrepancy, please?
Yeah.
Can we contact your previous employer? No.
Right. What do you mean you got banished? That shit's important. All right. Yeah. So they have a little battle of wills, and it's kind of interesting because we suppose that some of this might be attributed to his whole being starbornness. So.
Right, because as soon as he breaks out of it, and it seems like Karen got out of something as well, probably it's done by him, and then Earl King says, "Well done, Starborn." Like that doesn't mean anything.
No, it's.
How has Harry not questioned this year?
Seriously,
because he's
the
dumb.
plot does not yet call for it.
Right.
This is just where, like,
same reason he doesn't know who Cal and Kumori are, why Little Chicago got fixed. These are not yet plot relevant.
But some of the things is like he can't. Okay, some of the things it's like he can't really like seek anyone to get the. I just feel like this should have been mentioned in the books at some point. It's like Starborn. I'm being called this. What is it? Just so at least he wondered about it. He's never thought about it.
No,
and it's
he
just
hasn't.
Yeah,
and it's just bordering on absurd, I think.
No, because one day when it's finally time to come to it, he's gonna be like, "I've been thinking about this for a number of years, liar," and gonna go on like a whole tangent in his narration about how he's actually been doing research.
Remember, he's an imperfect narrator, right? So he's Harry himself is holding it back because it's more dramatic this way to the story.
I mean,
it's totally not Jim.
Harry / Jim,
queen.
Yeah, is definitely holding it back because it'll be better dramatic.
He's
and Harry would write his case files and then hold it back.
Well, he admits 50 times it's like crack to wizards, even the small things.
Right.
Yeah. It's like a
what
drug.
you have for breakfast.
Keeping
I'll
secrets.
never tell.
Well, we know it's Fruit Loops, or at least for several months there it was Fruit Loops.
It's gotten Fruit Loops.
It's either that or it's like hot dogs not heated on like between toast. He does that several times.
It's a can of Coke. That's his breakfast.
No, and a can of Coke. Only when he's got the extra dollar.
And some burnt offerings from Molly.
Yeah, when he has to start eating healthy, turkey bacon. I mean,
right. Oh no, that shit's a crime against mankind. So.
Just don't eat bacon. If you want to be healthy, just don't eat it.
No, that's.
So I would never advocate for not eating bacon, but at least don't substitute with turkey bacon.
I mean, there's body healthy, but then there's soul healthy, and bacon is soul healthy.
As you can see, me and Jacob were soul healthy.
If you've eaten bacon, it's already too late because my doctor told me that every piece of bacon I eat takes 6 minutes off of my life, which means that I should have died in 1492.
So you know how to do all that time travel thing? Did you fix Little Chicago?
Just saying.
By God, Holmes, you solved
because what the doctor doesn't understand is it adds to your soul life. So it takes 6 minutes off your body life, but your eternal soul just keeps you going.
Right.
I mean,
so the answer
that's just
to immortal
science
soul
right
is bacon and not church?
Yes.
We're about to piss off like 1 billion people. So, well,
hey, evangelicals,
billion
eat
and
more
a few
bacon.
more,
Shut up.
Yeah. So So this is the Dresden Files podcast. We swear, spoil everything, and we talk a lot about bacon, apparently. So we'll put that in the warning bumper.
Well, eating things in general, possibly.
I see no issue with this. People sign up for this podcast for bacon.
Even vegans and raw fruitarians eat something. So, if you're mad because we eat things, then you must be an outsider. Like fucking humans.
They eat things that are inside.
So
that's the reason the outsiders are coming in. They don't have bacon in the void.
Just like,
all right, we solved it. Everybody go home.
If y'all can just open up the gate, it will be nice if we get bacon.
So if we just export the bacon, they'll be okay.
Correct.
So Harry was right then. The whole diplomacy thing. If I come to you with a bacon sandwich or a gun and ask you which one you want, that's my
They're
idea.
gonna take the bacon sandwich. Guns don't do shit to them. They're
Right.
taking the bacon sandwich.
He really is the chosen one.
I really feel like we got in. We understand the outsiders like we've never understood them before.
It was simple. All it took was a little bit of common sense thinking.
The greatest part about this is that if we or one of our listeners goes to Jim and be like, so outsiders are after the bacon, he'll be like, what the fuck are you talking about right now? Like, what is wrong with you people?
There'll be some little glint in his eyes like, oh shit, they fucking
right. Not anymore. So, yeah.
It's the Bacon Apocalyptic Trilogy. That's what it stands for at the end.
Awesome. So he gets on a barge at some point after this fight.
I think
Bacon
at some point, Karen was saying you don't need to destroy the barge, you just need to destroy the tugboats. And eventually he gets on a barge and gets on with fights with people.
Mm-hmm.
Was this after he sent the Earl King off to you go kill things? Because
pretty sure.
What he says is that Earl King guy seems a little do-it-yourselfy. Actually, she says that, but yeah. Don't micromanage someone who knows what they're doing.
Yeah, I remember the Earl King pretty much being like, "You want me to take this over for you?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure, do that." So, then he gets confronted by Cat Sith at some point, and isn't this where he says, "Get me a Coke"? So,
maybe. I'm scrolling down. I'm going through my ebook, okay?
All right. I'm sorry I'm going too fast.
Well, when he gets on the barge and he kills some of the people, the cultists that are doing anything, he also attacks Ace. He was one of the people on the barge. And this might be the last time we get to see him or something. Maybe
is that mentioned that Ace is there? I don't even remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he kills him.
I mean, good riddance. I never really realized that, I guess.
Yeah, he's so forgettable. So,
I know it was there. I'm trying to find it. I'll find it eventually on part 6. I'll point it out.
Part 72.
Yeah, and let's see, Cat Sith, and he goes with a Wild Hunt speech of join, hide, or die, and Sith doesn't seem to know how to react to that. And the real Cat Sith wouldn't be having this conversation with me, he'd have killed me by now.
Right.
So why do I still have a spine? And he does say that, get me a Coke. You heard me, Mittens, get me a freaking Coke and do it now.
And then he freaks out.
Yeah, he's vibrating in place and not sure what to do.
Because the real Cat Sith is supposed to follow the orders and Nemesis is trying to keep control. So
yeah, but Cat Sith is like Leia and he wants to be what he is, and following the orders of Mab is what he does.
Right.
Yeah.
This is also here where the best example of the discussion between is Nemesis straight out controlling or more influencing.
It's probably similar to how the Denarians work. Some people work in tandem, some people are obliterated.
What I was thinking is it's kind of subtly in giving them for example with what's her name, Maeve, giving her the ability to lie, free will of sorts. But here, once the Agent Sith has been thoroughly busted, it just it overrides him.
Right.
Which Sith is a pretty powerful supernatural being. So the question is if it can do that for everybody.
Well, not because Leia obviously figures out that she is, and she doesn't get just.
Yeah, she gets free. She doesn't get overridden. Is it temporarily only really fast, or
she's getting overridden at a few points, and you can see that in Proven Guilty when she's her normal kind of creepy self, and then she starts screaming to be let go and freed, and that's obviously when she's being taken over.
Right, but she knows enough to know that it's happening, so she's obviously able to resist it enough to the point where she can get to Mab and seek help, and it's not just going to like glaze her over right then and there like it does with Cat Sith, because, I mean, let's face it, she's the second most powerful person in the active Winter Court. It stands to reason she'd be able to resist it long enough for that. Cat Sith is powerful, but he's not that powerful.
Well, he hasn't had time, but when he gets blown off the boat, essentially, and into the dark water, I'm sure Mab can find him. He got injured on the line of duty of her orders. I'm sure she feels she has an obligation to help him.
Well, I mean,
I like this idea, and totally not the fact that Cat Sith is going to catch up to Harry in a dark alley at some point. So, because it was funny. I think it was like after the second time I read it, it was either in this show or somebody else I was talking to, and it was like, oh shit, he died off screen. He's totally coming back. Maybe it was a Q&A. Like somebody asked Jim about it and be like, so we never saw a body. And he's like, shut up. You know, like,
no, he says he got shot out of that window. He fell into the water. He's obviously
no one can survive that.
Right. So
clearly alive.
I found it. It is after Cat Sith is blown off the boat and Harry is using the Winchester and kind of sniping a little bit on the boat. And one of the people he kills there is Ace.
Okay, so Ace dies on screen.
Yes.
So fuck him. He's gone.
Yeah, no, that was there was the sound of the gun and then silence on the deck or whatever.
Yes.
Ace actually is straight up got his head blown off.
Yeah.
Right. He's
sweet.
Dead as Justin. So.
And he used a gun, so he's clear with the council.
Right.
Ooh. Do you think Ace is going to return as a ghost and haunt Harry?
Yes, but not in the way that you think. So I don't think he's going to be actually a creature of ectoplasm and fear. I think he's going to be like
Harry's going to
have to confront all of the people he killed at some point, and maybe when he goes to hell, like literally to hell,
like
or the BAT. And
considering how bad he felt from killing Corpse Taker, who was just about as evil as it gets. Like, I think he's gonna feel bad for having killed these people. Like, I don't know. I don't know if he's over stuff like that at this point. He's just like, it's cost of doing business. I mean, he has been doing this for a while.
He is a little bit.
I just can't wait for the angst fest when he meets Susan in hell.
Right.
Oh my God! Please no.
It's even better than I dreamed. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just no.
So Harry jumps off the boat, lands on his testicles on the motorcycle, and tries to be all commanding. And it doesn't really work.
That's all you got?
This is when he gives the Earl King the hunt back entirely, and they do that thing of changing from land creatures into like water predators and go down into the water, which is where Harry couldn't go.
Riding an orca or some shit. So
yeah, and like all of the hounds are turning into sharks, and Karen points out, this is a motorcycle. The magic's going away.
Right.
So they do a small crash landing on the island.
See what happens when your warp field destabilizes. You just
anyway.
Faster. Or however it is.
It's like we can't hit the beach at this speed. We'll pancake ourselves into the trees. And Harry says, I don't feel like taking a swim tonight. And she says, stop being such a pussy.
Stop being such a pussy.
That he just landed on his testicles with. And then I think that's when one of the last barges comes in, the one that they destroyed the tugboat for. And so it was more or less intact, and they were using magic instead to get it to the island.
The outsiders were pushing it, I thought, right?
They were definitely pushing it, and that was their last-ditch attempt of that ritual. And the water beetle comes out of nowhere with the glamour and the We Will Rock You sound mix. And I think, was it Mac or Thomas that was kind of keeping Molly upright because she was almost unconscious.
Right. Okay. Do you hear streams? Sorry.
That is a good scene.
Yeah, it's great.
Oh, Harry did that thing again with the ice. Like the barge is coming in, and he freezes it with ice, the water, so that he can't move anymore.
Way more efficiently than the way he used to have to do it.
Well, because he used to have to do it with thermodynamics as opposed to being able to
which took a lot more energy.
Yep. Now, easy peasy. Ice and easy. So yeah, Mac is the one holding her up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's he's there, he's helping, he just doesn't do much.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I get that he's neutral or whatever, but it always felt like, okay, and you two are coming with me, and then they immediately go in his backpack and we never see them again. And it's just like, you at least mention that they're getting roughed up or that they duck and cover or something. I don't know.
Sarissa's doing her best to hide, and Mac is just being who he is, very quiet, not doing much, but he is helping. He'll like kind of tell you how many enemies they're coming with, or get a shotgun if the necromancers are coming, but he's not doing whatever else he can do.
Right.
He can keep Molly upright.
Because he's out.
Yeah, whatever that means.
It means he's out.
Out of what?
The job.
Of Grey Poupon.
Out of bacon.
Right? Yeah. That's why he does steak sandwiches.
So you're saying you can't get a steak sandwich with bacon?
It's a little bit overkill.
I mean, I would want a bacon in my sandwich.
Steak and bacon operate on different parts of the soul wavelength.
Yeah, I can.
So you please both wavelengths at the same time.
This is America, where if I want to, I can have bacon 3 times a day, and I can kill 3 different animals for one meal. Like, come on, that's the essence of being American, right there.
So, with all the distraction that they're able to do with the water beetle, Harry blows Sharkface's head off with a gun.
A soul fire infused bullet. It's not just a gun.
Okay.
And it's not like it kills him; it just destroys his body.
And it's a Winchester. It's not just a gun. Come on now.
All right.
And then they have the mind battle.
No, they had it already.
They had that already.
This is the end. He blows his head off, and the body like crumbles apart, and the essence goes shooting off into the water and screams and runs away, and it distracts them a little with its high-pitched alien yelling.
Right? Yeah, and then there are like things exploding underwater.
Outsiders, probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably getting eaten by other water things now.
Sharks running around biting shit, reminding people that they're fucking sharks.
Yeah. I mean, that would be hilarious if they were just like outsiders swimming in a frozen lake and suddenly sharks came up and started eating them for no reason.
I mean, that's probably what they thought was happening. So
yeah, well, so at this point, the hunt is going wild, and
maybe that's because they're the wild hunt.
Yeah, well, if they don't get off the water beetle and onto the island, they're probably going to get eaten too, because they're not going to pay attention to who's a friend or foe. All right, then they start making their way up because something is clearly happening at the lighthouse. But if we stop now, it's right about an hour, and we stop at the beginning of chapter 46.
But we've only been going for 45 minutes.
No, you've only been going for 45 minutes.
What?
Yeah, some of us are professionals.
Yeah, we started on time.
Yeah.
Or we could just plow through it and end this book in half an hour.
That was a good one.
No, I think we could. We're pretty close.
You don't want it part 6, really?
I really don't, but that's why I'm not the director.
Well, I think we're gonna get stuck with all the tiny little details and argue about them.
I mean, what else is Saturday?
I mean, you did just explain a Dresden Files episode right there.
I didn't expect the tangent on bacon. I give you that.
Oh, that took 3 minutes.
Variety is the spice of life.
Bacon is the spice of the soul.
Indeed. Part 6?
It's up to you guys. I can hang around, but if you want to just cut it.
I think a part 6 would be best, and then that would be done around Halloween.
Where
and then Skin Games
around Halloween. Halloween's on Wednesday.
But yeah, Wait, what? Fuck.
We're definitely
Thursday,
gonna have to go
asshat.
longer.
All right, so we're not doing it next weekend, are we?
I don't fucking remember.
It's every 2 weekends, maybe, if people can actually be bothered to show up.
Oh well. I'm ending it. Someone plug shit.
Well, you ended it.
This
you plug
has
it.
been the Dresden Files podcast. Podcast of the Dresden Files. And that's how Ben does it, right? So
Yeah, generally.
Well, no, now you got to do it in a higher octave because he's off singing.
This is the Dresden Files. No.
Better.
So we're part of the Broken Jars Network. We've got other podcasts. A lot of them are on hiatus. I think Great Scott is still actually going on, right? So they're a podcast about The Office. They talk about cubicles and things like that. Then we've got Sim Talk. They talk about simulations.
And real professional things.
Yeah, like proper professional podcasts, you know.
They might
maybe not like $12,000 professional, but like Andreas, is your DMs Anonymous going on still?
Yeah, we recorded an episode earlier today.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what you were doing.
Yeah, that's why he was.
Well,
late.
That was hours before this. So.
Yeah.
So.
Were you on
So-
time?
And it was supposed to be plot creation and inserting player characters into the world. However, if you think we go off topic here, you should check out that episode. Because I think we talked 10 minutes about that for an hour. And the rest was off topic.
Off topic on what?
General Dungeon and Dragons. Did we yeah, I think it was general, still RPGs, just a lot of other things.
Okay. It's one thing about high fantasy, if you ever listen to it. We basically just turned it into the bitching session of whatever was irritating us that day.
About
in writing
high
or
fantasy,
in life?
Yeah, it was generally fantasy related. It's just like this person irritated the fuck out of me, and that one's annoying too. And I think that author is being a dick.
Speaking of which, should we spend a half an hour talking about how Dresden's low fantasy? Oh, okay, I'm just kidding. Did you?
It
miss
is
that
low
whole-
fantasy.
I
It
didn't
is.
miss it.
That's just how it is. That's his definition. I mean,
That was
sorry.
easily like the second most inane conversation that's ever gone on.
But if you want to join
After
these
the
inane
show, tell me
conversations,
about the
you can
first.
give us a little bit of money and you can see it.
Right? You can join
Yeah,
us.
and you
on
can chime
Discord.
in.
The
We'll
first-
even sort of pretend to respect your opinion.
And like when Brock asks us about his next crazy idea, you could be there and you could see it in real time. And you could ask us your crazy ideas like, oh yeah, we should get the guy with the time traveling Murphy to give us money. That would be hilarious. Be like, can I just pay for his subscription so that he comes? Never mind. Just for
How
EG.
about the what if guy on Reddit? What if I paid for his so we can have him in so you can all answer his what if questions?
You're gonna what if the what if guy?
Can we just have the what if guy in the Discord?
Okay, tell him to give us some money. It's just $1.
Hey,
Versus
Carl,
12. Wow,
if you
versus 12,
Carl Menace 2020,
Oh,
if
no,
you're
no,
watching,
no.
You've been
Give
called
us some
out
moolah.
and
No.
EG just quit the podcast. So
No.